I met Claire on a Tuesday afternoon that didn't feel like it was going to matter. I was at a friend's birthday party, one of those laid-back backyard things where you don't know half the people there and spend most of the time awkwardly hovering around the grill. Claire was there with someone from work, standing near the cooler, laughing at something I didn't hear. She had this way of being completely at ease, like the world around her never made her feel small. We ended up next to each other by accident, reaching for the same drink, I think. She beat me to it and said, "You look like a root beer guy," and handed it over like she'd known me for years. We started talking, and before I knew it, we were off to the side on a couple of lawn chairs, skipping the rest of the party like it didn't really exist. I don't remember what we talked about exactly. Music, jobs, how weird adult friendships are, but I remember how I felt. Comfortable, curious, drawn in. Claire worked in interior design. She'd just gone freelance and was juggling a handful of projects while trying to build a name for herself. I worked in logistics. Less glamorous, sure, but stable. She liked that I was structured. I liked that she was a little unpredictable. We balanced each other out in ways we didn't even understand at first. After that night, things moved naturally. We started seeing each other every weekend. That quickly turned into staying over during the week. We weren't dramatic or over the top. We just clicked. When she eventually moved into my apartment, it didn't feel like a decision. It felt like a formality, like it had already happened without us needing to say it. We got married 2 years later. A quiet ceremony up in the mountains with just family and close friends. She wore a simple satin dress, no frills. I remember how calm she looked when she walked toward me. Steady, eyes locked on mine like we'd already lived 100 lives together. That moment sticks with me more than anything else from that day. Just that look. After the wedding, we settled into a home on the outskirts of town. A cozy, single-story place with a big kitchen and a shaded backyard. Claire made the house feel alive. She had this talent for picking the perfect paint color without needing a swatch. The couch, the light fixtures, even the rug under our dining table. None of it matched in the traditional sense, but somehow it all worked. That was her. Unexpected, but always somehow right. We built a life around quiet routines. Sunday mornings with coffee and the paper. Evenings making dinner together with music playing low in the background. She always lit a candle before bed. I always checked the locks. It was ordinary in the best kind of way. People used to say we were lucky to have found each other. And at the time, I believed that completely. After we got married, life didn't shift all at once. It just eased forward, slowly and comfortably. There were no big changes overnight, just a gradual folding into each other's routines. We both kept our jobs, kept our friends, kept the bits of independence we'd always had, but there was something grounding about knowing she'd be there at the end of every day. Our home became a kind of reflection of that balance. Claire took the lead with the decor, of course she did, and the house turned into this effortlessly warm space that felt like a magazine layout, but never felt unlivable. She had this way of mixing textures and light, little details that most people wouldn't notice but always made a room feel right. It was never showy, just hers. Ours. I took care of the practical stuff. Mowing the lawn, managing the bills, keeping the cars running. She teased me sometimes about how seriously I treated the thermostat settings. I'd joke back that if left to her, we'd pay a fortune in heating during the winter. That kind of banter became part of the rhythm between us. Light, harmless, and familiar. Our weekdays settled into something that felt reliable. Claire would usually wake up first and start the coffee. I'd get up a bit later, make breakfast while she got ready. We didn't always eat together. Some mornings were just too rushed, but we made sure to say goodbye, every time, without fail. A quick kiss by the door, a have a good day, and a little touch on the shoulder or waist. It was small, but it mattered. It reminded us we were still showing up for each other. She worked mostly from home after her client base grew. I'd come home in the evenings and find her sitting cross-legged on the couch, samples spread across the coffee table, her laptop open, glasses slipping down her nose. I loved those moments. The way she looked up at me with a half smile, hair tied back, clearly deep in something. We'd talk about our days while cooking, or while she folded laundry and I swept the kitchen floor. We didn't need entertainment to keep us close. Just being in the same space felt enough. Weekends were for errands, small getaways, the occasional dinner with friends. She liked trying new restaurants. I liked grilling in the backyard. We did both. Every few months we'd take a short trip, Just a long weekend somewhere new, a change of scenery, even if it was just a cabin an hour out of town. We weren't extravagant travelers, but we liked to go, to experience things together, to make memories we could file away for later. Looking back, there wasn't a single moment that stood out more than others. It was the whole of it, the quiet mornings, the shared grocery runs, the way she reached for my hand in movie theaters. Our life was woven from those tiny threads, the everyday things that, when you step back, make a life feel full. We weren't the kind of couple who needed to prove anything to anyone. We were steady. We were close. Or at least, I believed we were. Over the years, Claire and I built a rhythm together that became second nature. Not just routines, but an unspoken understanding of each other's moods, habits, and edges. She knew I needed a few quiet minutes after walking in the door before launching into conversation. I knew not to interrupt her when she was organizing something. She had a mental system for everything, and if you threw it off, it was like tossing a wrench into a moving clock. We didn't step on each other's spaces. We respected the flow. Even our disagreements, when they came, were more like short storms than eruptions. We bickered now and then about the budget, about how I folded towels, about her tendency to start 5 projects at once and finish none of them. But we always came back together after. There were never any raised voices, never sleeping in separate rooms. If something was off, we talked. Maybe not immediately, but always eventually. We'd both gotten comfortable in the groove of our life together. I think we both liked how predictable things were. You start to take comfort in knowing how the pieces fit. Every Tuesday night we had pasta and red wine. Every Saturday morning we did the grocery run together, always starting with coffee from the same corner cafe. The baristas there knew our names, knew her order, hazelnut latte, oat milk, and always teased me for getting the same plain black coffee every time. She had a knack for remembering birthdays, for sending thank you cards, for showing up when it counted. People gravitated toward her. She was charming in public, knew how to work a room, but at home, she was more subdued, quietly affectionate. She'd curl up next to me on the couch and rest her head on my shoulder while reading or scrolling through her phone. I'd catch her humming sometimes while cooking or folding clothes, a little tune I never recognized, something made up on the spot. That's the kind of stuff that sticks in your head. Not big moments, just small sounds you associate with someone's presence. We didn't talk about the future in dramatic ways. We weren't vision board people, but we had plans. Travel more once work settled down. Maybe get a dog. We looked at cottages online once or twice, just for fun. We talked about taking time off for a real trip, somewhere far, Greece, maybe, or Ireland. She wanted cliffs and sea air and a cozy bed with open windows. I promised we'd make it happen eventually. We had friends who'd been married longer than us who warned us how easy it was to drift. Don't let routine turn into distance, one of them said once at dinner. I remember nodding along, thinking we'd been good about that. We were affectionate. We laughed. We went out. We still held hands when we walked through parking lots. I didn't feel distant from her. In fact, I felt like I had something rare. Something steady in a world that spins too fast for most people to keep up with. I thought we'd gotten lucky. That maybe we'd done the hard work early and landed in the easy part. I was comfortable, secure, grateful, and I had no reason, none at all, to think that would ever change. It started like a normal conversation. We were having dinner, takeout sushi at the kitchen table, Claire still wearing her work-from-home clothes and rubbing her temple like she'd had a long day. She was scrolling through something on her phone, absently picking at her food, and then she set it down and looked at me. I've been thinking, she said. I need a break. I didn't flinch. Honestly, I got it. Work had been relentless for both of us lately. She'd taken on 2 new design clients and had been running on fumes for weeks. I was behind on a project at the office and constantly dragging home that kind of half-present energy you get when your brain's still stuck in spreadsheets. We were functioning, but the pace was wearing us down. She went on, Mara and Tasha are planning a trip, just the 3 of us. Nothing wild. Just a few days away. Probably somewhere sunny. I haven't had a girl's vacation in years. I nodded, still chewing. That actually sounds like a good idea. She blinked, maybe expecting me to ask for details or pushback. But I didn't. I trusted her. If she needed time away to decompress, I wanted her to have it. We'd always been good about giving each other space when we needed it. That was one of the things I thought made us work. We didn't crowd each other. We respected the ebb and flow. She hesitated for half a second before continuing. Flights are kind of expensive, though. And I'd like to stay somewhere nice, somewhere we can actually relax, not just a budget hotel. Would it be all right if I used a little from the savings? Maybe 1,000 or so? I shrugged. Sure. Take what you need. Claire smiled, almost cautiously, like she wasn't sure I'd say yes that easily. But then she leaned across the table and kissed my cheek. You're the best. Seriously. I didn't think much more about it. $1,000 wasn't going to break us. We kept a separate travel and fun that we both dipped into occasionally. We weren't the kind of couple who kept tabs. If she needed it, she had it. The rest of the week, she was lighter, more energetic. I noticed she started picking out swimsuits online, flipping through hotel photos, texting her friends more often. One night, I walked past the guest room and saw her trying on outfits in the mirror, holding up her phone like she was taking photos to send to someone for approval. I smiled. It was good to see her excited about something again. A few days later, she booked the flight. Miami, she said, 5 nights, beachfront Airbnb, direct flight. I offered to drive her to the airport. She declined, said Mara's boyfriend was dropping them off, and it would just be easier that way. That didn't bother me. She was organized like that, like to have all the logistics tied up. The morning she left, she was up early, suitcase by the door, dressed casually but perfectly pulled together. She gave me a long hug and said, I'll text when we land. Try to take it easy while I'm gone, okay? I watched her car pull away and felt nothing but calm. I wasn't worried. I wasn't suspicious. I figured she needed a little sun, a few laughs with friends, a break from the grind. I had no idea I was watching my wife drive away from our marriage. Claire had only been gone for 2 days when I noticed it, not anything specific, just a feeling. It's hard to explain without sounding like I was looking for something, but I wasn't. I was fine. At least, I thought I was. The house was quieter than usual, and not just because she wasn't in it. It was something about the way the quiet settled. The way it stayed. When she was around, even in her silences, there was a certain rhythm to the house. She hummed while she cooked, talked to herself while she worked, left a trail of motion and presence wherever she went. Without her, it all just stopped. And it felt a little too still. She texted me after her flight landed. Beach is gorgeous. Love you. I sent back a simple, glad you made it. Enjoy. I meant it. I wanted her to relax. But as the days went on, our conversations got shorter. She wasn't exactly unreachable, but she wasn't available, either. Usually when she traveled, even for work, she'd call once in the evening, just to check in. Nothing long, just a voice on the other end of the line. This time, no calls. Just texts. Quick ones. Surface level. Going to dinner, talk later. Just woke up. Gonna grab coffee and head to the beach. Sunburn already. Oops. All light, all casual. But nothing that made me feel like she was thinking about me while she was there. I didn't push. I figured she was caught up in the moment, letting herself unwind. That's what the trip was for, right? Still, I'd find myself checking the clock around dinner, wondering what she was doing. I'd imagine her sitting at a beachfront restaurant, drink in hand, laughing with Mara and Tasha. Then I'd pause and wonder why that didn't bring me comfort. I wanted her to have fun, but something about the image felt incomplete, or maybe too polished. I couldn't shake it. A few times, I texted her just to say hi. She'd reply, but not right away. Not like she used to. One night I sent, miss you, and she sent back a heart emoji 4 hours later. No words. Just that. I stared at the screen longer than I should have, trying to convince myself it meant the same thing. And then there was the photo she posted to her story. It was just a beach shot, legs stretched out, sunglasses in one hand, drink in the other. Classic vacation pic. But there was a second glass just at the edge of the frame, another drink barely in the shot. Could have been Mara's. Probably was. But I caught myself zooming in, analyzing shadows like an amateur detective. Then I closed the app and told myself I was being ridiculous. That night, I couldn't sleep. Not from worry exactly, just restlessness. Like something was shifting in the background of my life, and I didn't know what it was yet. I kept replaying little things. The way she seemed lighter before she left. How eager she was to go. The look on her face when I handed her the money. Like she was relieved, not just grateful. It's probably nothing, I told myself. She just needed a break. Everyone does. But still, I kept my phone by the bed. And every time it buzzed, I hoped it would be her, calling just to say goodnight like she used to. She didn't. By day 4, I stopped pretending not to notice how different Claire sounded over text. She was still replying, but something about the way she responded felt edited. Not in a dramatic way, just shorter. Stripped of the usual color. I'd send something about how the dog had taken over her side of the bed, or how the neighbor finally trimmed that overgrown hedge she always complained about. Normally, she'd reply with a little joke, or ask for a photo, or comment on something I didn't even think she noticed. But now, I'd get things like, haha, good one, or that's funny. That wasn't her. Not really. I tried to brush it off. Maybe she just wanted to be present with her friends. Maybe she was trying not to be that person glued to her phone while everyone else was living in the moment. I told myself that was a good thing. Healthy. But if I'm being honest, I didn't feel great about it. I asked her how things were going, what places they'd visited, how the weather was, what kind of food they were eating. She answered, but vaguely. Lots of seafood. Mostly beach stuff. Super chill. I couldn't help but feel like I was talking to someone giving a summary of a trip they weren't really on. It was like she'd already rehearsed the answers. There was one night I called. I didn't plan to. It was almost midnight, but I just wanted to hear her voice. I figured she might be back at the rental by then, winding down. She didn't pick up. A minute later, she texted, "Hey, can't talk. Watching a movie. You okay?" I said, "Yeah, just wanted to say hi." She never replied. The next day, she sent a photo of the ocean, captioned, "Morning view," smiley face, and nothing else. No love you. No miss you. Not even a follow-up later that day. I realized she hadn't said she missed me at all since she left. Not once. And I know that shouldn't matter. Not everyone says it out loud. But the absence of it started to feel louder than any actual words. We were the kind of couple who stayed close, even when we were apart. That was always our thing. When one of us traveled, we checked in, shared dumb little things throughout the day. This wasn't like her. I didn't say anything. What was there to say? Hey, I feel like you're texting me differently. Your emojis feel off? I didn't want to be that guy, the one who starts overthinking just because his wife is finally relaxing for once. She deserved a break. That's what I kept telling myself. But by now, I'd stopped texting her as much. Not out of spite. Just something in me started pulling back. Like if she was drifting, I didn't want to be the only one reaching. I wasn't angry. I wasn't even suspicious. Not fully. Just unsettled. Like something small had shifted underfoot, and I hadn't found my balance yet. I started sleeping on my side of the bed again. No dog. No distractions. Just me, a quiet room, and a phone screen that stayed dark a little too long between messages. She was still out there, enjoying the sun, the sand, the break from all of this. But for the first time since she left, I realized I wasn't sure if she was counting the days until she came home, or if she even wanted to. By day 5, I stopped pretending we were still on the same page. Claire was still sending messages, technically, but the tone had changed so much it felt like texting a polite stranger. She used to tell me everything. Now, I felt like I was getting the highlight reel, trimmed and curated, like something meant for public view. Even the way she wrote felt more distant, more polished, like she was making sure nothing sounded too personal, too anchored to the life waiting for her back home. We hadn't had a real conversation since she left. Just these scattered updates, photos of sunsets, snapshots of cocktails, a short video of the tide rolling in that she captioned with a sun emoji, and nothing else. I'd watch these things, read her one-liners, and sit there trying to imagine her voice behind them, trying to picture the face she made when she pressed send. But more and more, I couldn't. It was like the version of her I knew had stayed home, and someone else, lighter, freer, untethered, had gone in her place. That night, I stood in our bedroom for a long time before bed, looking at the suitcase she didn't take. Just an old one in the closet, half full of clothes from a trip we never finished packing for. We'd planned a weekend in Asheville last fall, and had to cancel last minute when a project at her firm ran late. The bag sat untouched ever since. That night, I found myself staring at it, wondering how many other plans we'd left half-packed, wondering how long it had been since we looked at each other like we used to, not just with affection, but with curiosity, with intention. I didn't feel jealous, exactly. That wasn't the word for it. I wasn't angry either. What I felt was this strange kind of detachment, like I was watching my own marriage from the outside. Like I was standing in a quiet theater, watching someone else's life flicker across the screen, and realizing too late that the ending wasn't going to be what I thought it was. It wasn't a single moment that did it. It was the accumulation, the little ways her attention had shifted, the slow fade of "I miss you" into "talk later," the fact that I could feel her slipping and had no idea how to stop it. I found myself checking her social media more than I was proud of. I don't usually do that. But now I'd go to her page, looking for something, anything, that would tell me what I wasn't hearing from her directly. The photos were all safe. Group shots, scenery, food. No red flags. No obvious secrets. But that was almost worse. It was too clean. Too curated. Like she was managing a version of the trip I was supposed to believe. I kept staring at a picture of her in a sundress I'd never seen before, smiling, hair loose, golden hour lighting behind her, and I couldn't remember the last time she'd looked at me like that. I still didn't think the worst. Not consciously. But something in me had gone still. I wasn't checking the time anymore to see when she might call. I wasn't refreshing my messages. I wasn't waiting. That part of me had gone quiet. And maybe that was the scariest part of all, realizing that without even meaning to, I'd started preparing for something to break. It happened in the most mundane way imaginable. I was in the kitchen, rinsing out my coffee mug, thinking about taking the dog for a walk. The house was quiet, the kind of quiet that had settled in permanently since Claire left. My phone buzzed on the counter, face up, her name lighting up the screen like it always did, except this time, there was a preview. A text, just long enough to show the first line. I still can't believe how good last night was. I needed that. I haven't felt that alive in years. I froze. The kind of freeze where your body stops, your breath shortens, and time stretches out unnaturally. My hands were still wet. I didn't even dry them before I reached for the phone. I unlocked it without thinking. The message was already gone. Deleted. Just like that. I stared at the screen, heart pounding, brain scrambling to make sense of what I'd seen. It wasn't a conversation we were having. She hadn't meant to send it to me. That much was obvious. There was no follow-up. No backpedaling. No typo excuse. It wasn't something ambiguous. It wasn't a joke. It wasn't about a spa day or a good dinner. I know my wife's tone. That message had weight. Intimacy. Heat. She didn't just make a mistake. She let something slip. And she thought I didn't see it. I waited. Maybe part of me hoped she'd realize the slip, try to explain it. But nothing came. No text. No call. She went dark for the rest of the day. Like she'd sent that message into the world, deleted it, and convinced herself it disappeared. But it didn't. I saw it. And in those 15 words, everything inside me cracked. It was like rewinding every moment from the last few weeks and watching them again with a different filter. The distance, the careful replies, the way her voice had felt unfamiliar through a screen. The movie night she couldn't take a call during. The sunglasses on the beach beside her in that photo she didn't explain. It all came rushing back, not as paranoia, but as confirmation. Not because I'd wanted to believe it, but because now I didn't have a choice. I didn't text her. I didn't ask for clarification. What was there to clarify? She wasn't just gone for a vacation. She was gone. The rest of the night passed like a fog. I didn't eat. I didn't turn on the TV. I sat with that line in my head on repeat, like it had been carved into me. I haven't felt that alive in years. Was she talking about him? About them? Was it a one-time thing? Was it ongoing? Did it matter? All I knew was this. She cheated. Not a suspicion. Not a feeling. She said it in her own words. She gave me the truth in the most careless way possible accidentally. And then she erased it, like that could unwrite what she did. But she was wrong. Some things, once seen, don't go away. I didn't sleep that night. Not really. I lay in bed with the lights off, staring at the ceiling while the room shifted around me, heavy and close. That message played on a loop in my head, like a song I couldn't shut off. I haven't felt that alive in years. It was the word alive that did it. Not just that she had cheated, not just that she lied, but that she had found something that gave her back a feeling she hadn't had in a long time. And that it came from someone who wasn't me. She hadn't just stepped out of our marriage. She'd found a version of herself that didn't include me at all, and it thrilled her. By morning, the sadness had drained out. What replaced it wasn't chaos. It was clarity. The kind of clarity you get when there's nothing left to protect. For years, I had given Claire the benefit of every doubt, the best of my days, and the stability of a man who stayed steady while she moved in and out of phases. And now, here I was, discarded, not with a fight, but with silence. Erased with a swipe of her thumb. It wasn't just the betrayal. It was the ease with which she walked away from what we had. And if she thought she could come back to the same house, the same husband, the same quiet forgiveness, she had no idea who she'd left behind. I started with the house. I packed 2 bags, essentials only, the things that mattered to me. I'd already scoped out a rental on the other side of town, nothing fancy, just clean, quiet, temporary. A place that wouldn't remind me of her. I signed the lease within hours, transferred funds, changed my mailing address. I'd already made a list. Utilities, bank statements, passwords, everything she might think she still had access to. I locked it all down. She would return to a house that was no longer hers, not in any meaningful way. Then came the revenge. And no, I won't dress it up. I don't believe in revenge for the sake of spectacle, but I believe in mirrors. I believe in letting people see who they really are, what they've cost. So I reached out to someone who had always been a little too flirty with me at gatherings, an acquaintance of Claire's from years ago, someone she never took seriously. We'd exchanged maybe a dozen messages over the years, nothing inappropriate, just enough to know she remembered me. I didn't lie. I told her the truth, that my wife had cheated, that I wasn't looking for comfort, just something honest, something real, even if it was temporary. I expected hesitation, but there wasn't any. She came over that night. What happened between us wasn't romance. It wasn't intimacy. It was release. For the first time in months, maybe longer, I felt present in my own body, not half waiting for someone else to come home, to call, to lie to me again. And yes, I recorded it, not out of pettiness, but proof. A statement. Something Claire would have to sit with the same way I had sat with her message. I saved it to a flash drive and set it aside. The next morning, I left the house for good. Everything was ready. My keys were on the counter, but not before I changed the locks. I printed one note and left it where she couldn't miss it. I know everything. You sent it to me by mistake. Don't call. This is over. And next to that note, I left the flash drive. No label, no message, just silence. Like the kind she gave me. I didn't wait to see her reaction. I didn't give her the chance to cry or lie or beg or explain. She forfeited that the moment she chose someone else. The moment she said she hadn't felt alive in years, like I had been her sleep. Now, she'd come back to emptiness. A house she thought was home. A marriage she thought she could re-enter. But I was already gone. The first morning I woke up in the new place, I didn't recognize the sound of the birds outside. It was quieter here. Not suburban quiet, the kind of quiet you get in an older neighborhood with wide trees and slow mornings. There was no hum of our old fridge, no creaking floorboard outside the bedroom door where Claire used to walk past in heels. Just stillness. And sunlight. I stood by the window for a while, not doing anything, not reaching for my phone, just letting the moment be what it was, mine. The new house wasn't big. Just 2 bedrooms, wood floors, neutral walls that hadn't been painted over in years. But there was something honest about it. It hadn't been touched up for appearances. No curated shelves, no art installations like Claire used to rotate every few months. It was simple, real. I brought only what I needed. Everything else, I left behind with her, including the version of myself that stayed quiet for too long. At first, the loneliness crept in around the edges. Not because I missed her, but because my life had revolved around us for so long, I had to relearn what it meant to move through the world alone. I realized how many of my habits had been shaped around her preferences. The shows we watched, the way we organized the fridge, the brand of laundry detergent. I'd go to the store and stand in front of shelves, forgetting what I actually liked. That kind of thing humbles you. But day by day, it got easier. Not dramatic. Not all at once. But in these small, reassuring ways. Cooking for myself without needing to ask what she was in the mood for. Leaving things out without worrying whether they fit her aesthetic. Sitting down with my morning coffee in silence, without checking to see if she'd messaged overnight. That kind of freedom doesn't feel like celebration. It feels like relief. Like a muscle unclenching. About 2 weeks in, I met someone. Her name's Lily. She's a friend of a friend, graphic designer, divorced 3 years, has a laugh that starts in her chest and spills out before she can catch it. We grabbed a drink at a local brewery after running into each other at a cookout. I didn't expect anything from it. I didn't even tell her much about what I'd just gone through. But she didn't ask for the whole story. She just talked to me like I was a person, not someone broken, not someone fragile. Just me. We've been spending time together since. No pressure. Just conversations, shared meals, a hike here and there. With her, everything feels easy. She doesn't ask me to be okay. She just meets me where I am. That's something I didn't know I needed until I had it. I'm not pretending like I'm healed. That's not how this works. There are still days where I catch myself drifting into old patterns, checking the time like I used to when Claire was traveling, or feeling that phantom weight on the other side of the bed. But they're passing moments now, not anchors. The bitterness I carried when I left, I set it down somewhere along the way. I don't need it anymore, because I'm not rebuilding a life that was torn apart. I'm building something new. I drove by the old house the other day. Not on purpose. Just one of those wrong turns that somehow takes you exactly where you didn't mean to go. It looked the same from the outside, gray siding, trimmed hedges, the porch light still flickering like it always did when the bulb needed changing. But I didn't feel much when I saw it. No spike of anger. No swell of nostalgia. Just a quiet sort of distance, like looking at a photo of yourself from a life you don't live anymore. Claire tried reaching out a few times in the weeks after I left. At first, just texts. Then a couple of voicemails, one tearful, one cold, both carefully avoiding what she'd actually done. She never apologized directly. Never used the word affair. She said she made a mistake, that she was confused, that she wished I hadn't left without talking to her. But I knew that game. You don't get to cheat and then ask for a conversation. You don't get to lie and then expect a meeting in the middle. So I never answered. And eventually, she stopped trying. I heard through a mutual acquaintance that things didn't work out with the guy. No details. Just a vague comment, the kind people make when they're not sure if they should say more. I didn't ask. It didn't matter. Sophie, a friend of Claire's who always liked me more than she let on, texted me out of the blue last month. She said she was proud of how I handled everything. Said she never trusted Claire's version of things. That meant more than I expected. Not because I needed validation, but because it reminded me I wasn't crazy for walking away without giving her a second chance. Some things, when they break, stay broken. Lily's still in my life. She's not Claire. And I don't compare them, not out loud, not even in my head. That's not fair to either of us. Lily is kind in ways that feel grounded, not performative. She listens when I talk, and she leaves space when I don't. We've taken it slow. No pressure, no expectations. Just two people showing up as they are. Some nights we cook together. Other nights we just sit on the porch and watch the sky change. It's simple. But simple, I've learned, is underrated. I've changed too. Not in obvious ways. I still drink the same coffee, still fold my shirts the same way. But inside, there's a shift. I trust myself more. I listen to my gut. I don't explain away red flags anymore. And I've learned that you can be good to someone and still walk away when they show you they don't value it. That's not weakness. That's self-respect. Looking back, I don't wish the past away. I don't want to erase it. I needed it to become this version of myself. Stronger, quieter, clearer. I loved Claire once, deeply, fully, but I love peace more. And that's what this ending really is. Not revenge. Not bitterness. Just peace. And the space to start again, finally, without carrying what no longer belongs to me.